Hello friends, and welcome back to Amir's Allotment. We've had quite a few new subscribers recently, so I will introduce myself. My name is Amir and I'm from Gloucester. For those that are overseas, Gloucester is based in the southwest of the UK, and on this channel I like to update you on progress in my garden and also my allotment as well, and where I grow lots of fresh vegetables and fruit and flowers. And today I'm sat here in a coffee shop with a coffee and a cheese scone, gathering my thoughts and planning what I'm going to do on the allotment next. Have you got a new allotment or growing space? If you're like me, I'm sure you can't contain the excitement, and you're probably looking online and other sources, as well as on YouTube, at other gardeners for inspiration. In this episode, I'm hoping to share with you 5 tips that I hope you find useful. Hello?
Hello, can I please speak to Amir?
Yes, speaking.
Hello Amir, I'm calling from the Allotment Association. I am pleased to inform you that your name has reached the top of the allotment waiting list, and we have a plot to show you.
Oh really? Wow! This is just so exciting. I've been waiting for a long time. I really can't contain my excitement right now. I have wet my plants.
Wet your plants? Okay, that's enough. The washing machine cycle has ended. Can you please take the washing out?
Oh no, but I was just about to go to the allotment.
Actually, whilst you're there, can you also empty the dishwasher, please?
Oh. That was my wife, by the way. Whenever I take jokes too far, she always gives me chores. So let's move on and share my 5 tips. Number 1, plant as you mean to go on. You have got your new allotment and you are rearing to go. It's such an amazing feeling when you're stood there on what is your new plot, and we all have different experiences, because you can have people that have a huge mess of a plot and they have to really work through brambles and bindweed and lots of rubbish. And then you have some people that are so lucky that sometimes have a plot that is actually in immaculate condition, and that's great. This was not my first plot, so I did previously have another plot which I've spoken about on previous videos, and then I moved on to this plot a year later. But what I always suggest is really start as you mean to go on, but I've altered that a little bit to plant as you mean to go on. Clear small areas of the plot and start planting in them, and then move on to the next. Seriously, things always work out better that way, because by the time sometimes you've cleared huge amounts of the plot, or if not all of the plot, you'll be so tired, and sometimes it can be quite deflating. So small steps, small manageable steps. If you clear a small area, plant in there, move on to the next, and continue to do that. By the time you've either reached the end of your plot, or if you've completed it, you can look over your shoulder and you will see there are signs of your garden starting to grow right before your eyes. It's such an amazing feeling. Also, even in winter months, you can still get your garlic or onions in. I know now it might be too late for them to mature, because they do tend to require a long growing season. However, you can still have green garlic, and you can also use the green tops of onions as you would generally use a spring onion, so all is not lost. Here what I did was clear the small space at the front of my plot and get lots of tulips in, and I had a lovely flower bed here. I did lose quite a lot of these tulips to the squirrel, but it's fine. There are lessons always to be learned. It's still such a nice feeling getting things planted. Number 2, don't waste money. A allotments are traditionally about saving money, and a lot of people do tend to take that on board using things like pallet collars for raised beds. I've personally used recycled decking boards from home for raised beds. So we all do it. The basic tools that you usually need to start out an allotment would be a fork, a spade, a rake, a trowel set, and a wheelbarrow. But you don't need to spend garden centre prices on getting these. In the summer, car boot sales are a great place to buy these things from, and you can sometimes leave with a really good bargain. There's Facebook Marketplace, Gumtree, eBay, so there's lots of places online that you can look at as well. This might be an idea for you if you've got lots of fruit or flowers that you've grown in abundance. Why don't you consider selling them at one of your local car boot sales? And with that money, you never know, you could probably use it for more garden tools or something special for your allotment. I do enjoy these, they're great fun. You could end up like me and end up leaving with more tomatoes. Like, why would I need more tomatoes? But that's me. Number 3, consider making your own polytunnel. You don't have to buy an expensive polytunnel or an expensive cloche. You can make it yourself. All you need is some timber, some piping, and the plastic covering to go over your tunnel. I am not good at DIY at all, and if I have been able to do this, I'm pretty sure you can. There is a link to this video where there's more details on how I built this polytunnel in the description, but literally it just consisted of an outer frame and an inner frame. So what you do is on the inner frame, you pretty much attach piping clips and your pipes to the inner frame, and then you cover it with the plastic. You can secure the plastic using a staple gun to the inner frame. You pop the outer frame wherever you're going to place your tunnel on your allotment plot. You sit the whole tunnel that you've made using the plastic and the piping from the inner frame into the outer frame, and then you screw it all together. It adds a bit of weight to the tunnel too, so it keeps it in place. And to be honest, it's been great on my allotment. It's been great to protect some of the tender veg or things that I'm putting out to harden off. It is really good to have something like this on your allotment, so I'm sure you will find it really, really useful. But like I said, it's not complicated. One of the only challenges I had, one thing I would probably advise people to do a little bit differently, is here I was struggling with the top bar. I was straightening the tubing and I used it as a bar that goes over the top as stability, as you can see here. I would probably recommend next time to use either bamboo sticks or a piece of timber along the top, because I do find that over time this top piece here has moved around a little bit on this particular tunnel. So this year I'll probably remove it and then redo it and then put the plastic over it. But other than that, to be honest, it has stayed in place. And it's weathered the storms, and it's been really, really useful to have. So this is another tip that I wanted to share with you, is to really make your own tunnel, because I can assure you it's not complicated. So if you want more information on how to build a tunnel like this, I'll pop the link to this video in the description and you can check it out later. But yeah, not complicated, and something that's quite practical and good to have on your plot. So yeah, I definitely recommend making something like this. Anything that can give some of your crops some extra protection over the winter months or over time when we've not had very good weather is useful. So yeah, if you do make one, send me a message and let me know how you get on. Number 4, the muffin pan trick. This is a great hack, so if you haven't done it, do try it this year. All you have to do is prepare your ground, and what you'll basically be doing is using the bottom end of your muffin pan to create indentations in the soil, and then all you do is then sow in the holes. Do try it out, it's really good for shallow rooted herbs. I used coriander to sow them in these spaces, and they were absolutely great. In fact, what happened when it came to harvesting was I was able to harvest in small bunches, and so it is really a good hack, and I found it really useful. So I just soaked coriander seeds overnight, and then I simply sowed them in the spaces, and then it's basically just a case of backfilling them with some lovely compost, and then watch as they grow, and before you know it, you'll have lots of lovely herbs to enjoy. I had lots of lush coriander to harvest, and I had 2 flushes of this coriander. So what you do is with your first harvest, it's better using scissors. Where are scissors when you need them? This is why I'm pinching them out, but I leave the rest of the plant still in the ground, and then what will happen is you'll get another flush of coriander, because the plant gets a little bit stressed, so it goes into overdrive to try and self-seed, and so you'll get a taller second harvest as well. Number 5, sow as you grow. This is last, but definitely not least. We'll be visiting this a lot throughout the season, because as things start getting established and we're approaching harvesting veg within the growing season, there'll be gaps in the bed. So if we have continuously sown throughout that, we'll have seedlings which we can then transplant in those gaps. And it doesn't sometimes have to be things that are approaching harvesting, like this example here, where I've actually sown a strip of radishes in between the onions. Now the onions are not ready to harvest yet, but radishes are a quick crop, so they were ready to harvest well before I even got to harvest the onions. So it's really important to continue sowing as you are growing on the allotment, because you can definitely fill those gaps, and it keeps you inspired. You won't have bare patches in the allotment where it's just wasted space and we're not taking advantage of the growing season. So it's one of those processes that we have to repeatedly remind ourselves, what can we sow? I hope that you found these 5 tips useful. I found that this worked for me, so it was nice to have an opportunity to share some of my experiences with you. Before I go, I just wanted to talk about some plans for the allotment this year. Beatrix Potter, the well-known children's author, illustrator and conservationist, recently I came across her journal with my son, and we were going through it, and he was really inspired by the connection with all the wildlife, British wildlife, that we often come across in our gardens and in the countryside. And he mentioned, why don't we take some inspiration from her and do something on our allotment? And I thought it was a really good idea. So this year on the plot, we will do some things that are inspired by this author. What I'm also going to do, I don't know if anyone's watched the movie Peter Rabbit 2, and Mr. McGregor has like a vegetable garden, and he's got this really posh looking tomato bed that's basically surrounded by white picket fencing. So we'll do that, we'll replicate something like that on the allotment as well. I think it will be really good fun. So that's what I'm hoping to do, is we'll have some nice outdoor tomatoes, and I already did start this last year, but we didn't really get around to doing very much. This year we'll make it more of an actual statement on the allotment. I think that will be a really good idea.